and I think we'll be good to go. So there are, those of you who are eagle-eyed will notice that there are 15 slides. We're going to skip through these, please don't worry. And what I mostly want to do is show you some software applications today, and 3 of the suite of applications. Well, we have 4, so you're going to see 3 of them today, and how they work together. Now, you don't have to use these applications. You don't have to use all 3 applications. You can use any one of these applications. So this really is about the 3 of them and how they work together and how they work with other things. All right, the next slide here, this is slide 2 of 15. We're a real business. We've been around for, well, gosh, what are we up to? This is a dozen years or so now, and we do software for procedures, knowledge, and training, which is a great grab bag of expressions. And I'll talk a little bit more, I guess, colloquially, or about how we think and what we want to do and how, the things that are important to us. We have customers around the world, English-speaking customers almost exclusively in the United States and here in Asia-Pac, and of course in the United Kingdom as well. And the focus I've suggested at the bottom here is enhancing enterprise performance through clear procedural knowledge. I think it's a little bit of a mouthful and a bit of marketing spin, quite frankly. I mean, it's important because that's the end game, is to help organizations perform better. That all makes a lot of sense. But what is it we really do? This slide with these little people on it, I'm going to try and use to explain how we think about the world as it is. So it's a very simple slide. On the right-hand side, we have our target audience, and slightly to the left of them is SharePoint. SharePoint is sitting there as a bit of a proxy for any technical application that delivers help content, knowledge content, training content. It's a proxy for all of those things. The users use their browsers. They go to a service such as SharePoint, and they get knowledge. Yeah, that's what we do. To the left of it is a Word icon. That's there representing kind of the de facto way that that knowledge is captured in a business. I mean, Word is the de facto tool for most documentation. And we take assets out of that and we put it in SharePoint, or we author them in SharePoint. And this is kind of where it breaks down to me. We have all this fantastic knowledge in the head of this BA, SME consultant. This subject matter expert that's sitting on the left-hand side of the screen knows how to do stuff. And we need to capture that stuff so we can share it with the users. That's really what we're trying to do with Word documents and SharePoint. Yeah, the trouble is, it is really difficult to get the knowledge out of these guys in a standardized, efficient manner that doesn't send them slowly insane, because it takes so long and so difficult to do, so that they can share it. And this, to me, is kind of the tough bit. It is that authoring, the creation. It isn't the database. Database has been around for forever, and they're very good at organizing stuff. But the trouble is getting things into SharePoint and getting things into a help system is terribly time consuming if you want to do it properly. Very easy if you want to just smash something out and do 6 lines of text. But if you want to do it properly, it's really time consuming. So as an organization, we care very, very much about this BA SME consultant person on the left-hand side here, so that they can best service the users of the organization, and therefore the organization benefits. So that's kind of what we think about. It's that broken link, I suppose. That's where we think the issue is the creation and capture of knowledge. Okay, let's move on. All right, and just quickly, A explains to B how to do something, and you can see the little speech bubble there with the lovely clear information. It's clear to A, but perhaps it isn't exactly clear to B. And we all know that if you're trying to understand a 65-step procedure with a whole bunch of complexity in it, you're not going to remember it 5 minutes later. B and C and D, who are all listening to this, all get different pictures of this. And after going home on Friday, coming back on Monday, half of it's degraded even further. Knowledge has a half-life, of course. I've got no idea what it is, but you know what I mean. It gets even worse if we do sort of train the trainer. A explains to B, B explains to C, C explains to D, and we get all sorts of interesting stories. And as the faces change over time, 6 months later, it's kind of grey and people make up their own ways of doing things. So here's our subject matter expert. They have a vision of creating a beautiful knowledge asset. But it doesn't turn out that way because they make mistakes, they have to go back and do it again. They come back to it 3 weeks later. They've forgotten how to do the procedure, or it's just difficult to update SharePoint, right? It's kind of tough. And so you end up with something that's substandard. So the users, instead of getting a lovely organized set of assets sitting in SharePoint or on at least on OneDrive, perhaps it's not as attractive as one would hope. It's not necessarily these days the disorganized nature of it. It is more the case that the assets themselves aren't great. So this slide originally had 7 or 8 bullet points, but I slimmed it down this morning. We think about creation and delivery of assets. What we're interested in doing is helping that subject expert make content faster, more easily, less stress, in a more standardized way at a higher quality, and potentially with multiple types of deliverables. Those of you who know Runthru instruction will know in particular that application can make videos as well as Word documents, as well as SharePoint pages. So this little picture here is what we're going to do today, what we're going to talk about. So the chappie on the left here, he's our subject expert, and he or she is in their little bubble. And inside this little bubble, they're going to use Runthru Performance, they're going to use Runthru Instruction, and even Microsoft Word. And we're going to ship that out through SharePoint. We're going to also, you'll see today, Runthru Fusion, and the delivery of that content, which we'll talk about but not delve into particularly, will be through a browser to these happy users on the right-hand side. But really, to me, it's all about the person on the left and equipping them and skilling them with the right tools and training and methodologies to be able to create really good assets. So there are 4 pictures, there are 5 pictures on this slide in 4 groupings. We're not going to look at Runthru Online today, but we're going to look at the others. Runthru Instruction, bottom left, we're going to start with. Then we're going to go top right, Runthru Performance. This is for more complex procedural documents. In fact, the top right is Runthru Performance, and it sits somewhere between process and procedure. We can talk a bit about that. And Runthru Fusion, which is for creating standalone help sites that could be embedded into a software application, or standalone help sites or knowledge sites that could be shared with the world without the need for creating or hosting other technologies, because they're individual standalone static websites, self-contained HTML. So this is our shopping list of things we're going to do today. We're going to have a look at Runthru Instruction. I'm going to assume that most of you know the fundamentals of at least this application, so you're not going to get a full demo of that. We haven't got time anyway. But we will look at and talk about standardized creation. We'll talk a little bit about editing and how that's important. We'll generate some content in Word and SharePoint and potentially Teams. We'll also make some video, which is a new output from the application, and we'll delve into this application. Then we'll look at performance, and we'll have a look at, in both cases, we're going to start with a partially completed asset rather than start from actually scratch. And certainly in the case of Fusion, we're going to see a structure that's already built, and we're going to include some of the content that is created above. So the assets that are created above will go into the Fusion site, plus Word files and some Markdown files. And if time allows, we'll dig a little deeper on that. So as I said, this presentation is about the pieces working together and integrating with other things. So we'll say thank you to PowerPoint. Let's see here. And let's get this one over here. Okay, here we go. All right. This is Runthru Instruction. This particular file here has 6 frames in it down the left-hand side. The frames, 5 of the frames are image frames. One of them is a text frame. So the whole value proposition with this application is speed of creation and maintenance of high quality assets. I mean, that's kind of it in a nutshell. Put any fancy marketing terms around it that you want. We're calling it accelerated knowledge transfer, which is really fancy. But the reality is it's about the subject matter expert who needs to create high quality assets really, really, really quickly and potentially in multiple formats. That's it. So I have saved us a bit of time by going through in this application. This is called Zero, and I've taken some screenshots and I've done some basic markup. So in case you're not familiar with this application, the practice here is to take pictures, in essence, paste them in. We have different methods of getting the pictures in, but that's basically what you do. And drawing non-permanent markup on these images. So this one here, for example, this has lots of steps. It goes from 4 to 13. So there's 9 different steps on this individual screen. And it does, I admit, look a little cluttered, but it is one screenshot with a lot of knowledge captured on it. And the important thing about all of the applications, the Runthru applications, the 3 that you'll see today, is we really separate out the knowledge capture from the delivery. So I take the picture of a mostly completed screen. I fill in all the things. So add the customer name into the to field, for example, Bayside Club. I typed it in, and then I did a date and a credit note number, and I changed this to special projects, and I might have changed the currency, and I put in some other information in here. Then I took a screenshot, and then I did my markup elements on it. I can come back and change the screenshot and leave the markup elements in place. But the idea is a succinct or an appropriate number of screenshots, draw on the screenshots, push the publish button, and happy days, you get a decent looking document. And that's what we're going to do now. You can see there's a whole bunch of different options in here. These are the word options. There are 7 of them. Each of them have different advanced settings that you can play with. This is probably, I think these days, the most popular one. It has a big screenshot with some steps underneath it. But in every case, the little kind of thumbnail here gives you a bit of an idea of what's going to happen. As I said, we separate kind of the capturing of the knowledge from the delivery. So the delivery is different. The text is separated from the image. Let's look at the complex picture here. So this is the complex picture with all those steps on it. And the numbers are really easy to see because the text has been removed from the picture. And in this case, underneath. It could be on top, but in this case, it's underneath. So you get these really clear instructions, and you get the screen and the geography of the screen here in Microsoft Word, so you can see what to do. So that's kind of the whole deliverable of this application, is get a beautiful result by just getting some screenshots and just drawing on the screenshots with these markup objects and push the button and away you go. So this is performed like this, for example. So here's 14 and 15. And just pretend with me for a while that it's been a number of months since this document was created, and we realized we did need to add a step before step 14. So it will become the new step 14. So let's put that on now. We'll put one of these little text boxes on here, and all we'll simply say here is the allocate credit balance window is now shown. So we want to make it clear to the user what's actually going on. And what we'll also do is we'll just marry that up with a rectangle like so, and we'll just draw this around here like that. So step 16 is married to this rectangle, but this is in the wrong order. So wouldn't it make sense, rather than just trying to type in here to change the numbers, wouldn't it make sense to just drag 16 to the left of 14, which not surprisingly will make that 14 complete with its little friendship rectangle. This is 15, this is 16. Okay, and then if we were to reach for the publish button again, and maybe in this case we choose a slightly different output in Word, and we'll look at some of the others as well. you get a slightly different result. So in this case here, we get down to 13 and 14. Excuse the formatting there. That's a template issue that I'll fix later. Allocate credit balance window is now shown. That's number 14. Number 15 is type in the amount of credit to the applicable invoice and then press the allocate credit button. So absolutely no ambiguity here for the user. You can see you're on the correct screen. You can see why you're on this screen. You can see where to click on things. Happy days. The user's very, very happy with the output. And that's really what this is all about, is creating these high quality assets for the target audience. But again, you know, what are we worried about? We're worried about arming that subject matter expert with this tool set so that they can make high quality assets for the audience. We don't need to save that now. Let's just move back here. All right, so we've added an extra step. We might decide that something needs to be blurred out. So we grab the blurring tool, or there's harsher versions of that, such as a redaction tool. And you can even cut pieces of this picture and move them around if you want to as well. An example might be, and I won't bother doing it, but here the credit says credit is applied or allocated. Maybe, oops, we didn't want to show that yet. So maybe you erase that. Maybe you move the bottom half of the window up over the top of it. These are all sort of image editing things you can do inside of here, which are really easy to do. Okay, but in the interest of time, let's move on. All right, so we've got 18 steps here. We've happily gone ahead and we've published it to a Word document, which is rather nice. Good to hand out, good to attach to an email potentially. But really what we should be doing is we should be putting it into some sort of repository so that the users can easily find it. Because if it's a Word document, well, they might find the Word document, but then they've got to open the Word document to see if it's what they want, yeah? So it would make sense if we just pop it into SharePoint. And I don't know if you've ever authored content inside of SharePoint. I mean, it's actually a brilliant environment, but it isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. So we're going to create a site page from here. And this is going to be the, this is going to be called the web page title is going to be 0 example EMEA. And that will be the name of the page as well. There's a bunch of other options, but I think what we'll do is we'll just say that's good enough. But we're going to take this content, we're going to, on my SharePoint site, in demonstration, we're going to publish this page and it will create the page in SharePoint automatically for us. So it has to authenticate as me because, well, that makes tremendous sense. You don't want anyone creating pages in your SharePoint site. So I have to go through the authentication, but I'd obviously done that earlier today. And so it hasn't asked me again. But here it challenges me because in this browser, I haven't done it. So let me authenticate now. I don't have my security key plugged in. Let's do that. Here we go. And I put in, I've got to remember the number. Okay, yes. Are we happy? Yes, we are. Okay, so this is the asset that we just created. 0 example EMEA, 0 processor credit today. We'll come back and talk about text frames, but this is the blow-by-blow instruction that I created earlier. And there's template controls for all of this sort of stuff in here and how it looks. But that's a pretty solid, clear set of instructions that was it was probably created in half an hour or 45 minutes earlier today. I should have timed it, really, shouldn't I? All right, so we've made our Word document, which is nice, and we could attach it in here, and you can do that using the publishing tools as well. So that can be automated. But this is direct to SharePoint, and you can do the same thing with ServiceNow, and you can do the same thing with Confluence, and they will look remarkably similar. That's simple, clear ability to create rich content in a standardized manner with the corporate colors, in this case, the oranges and reds and blues inside of this repository here. And then you come back in the future, you make a change, you republish it, and it'll just update that document for you. Nice and simple. What's becoming even not even more popular, but very popular, is the video output as well. I think this is the fastest possible way that you can create a professional video with a voiceover in the procedural world, right? It's paradoxical, because if you think you could just get some screen capture thing, and I've done it plenty of times before. I use something called OBS, which is a great free tool for screen recording. You think you could just do a screen recording and achieve the result, but you can't. I just don't believe you can. It takes you 20 minutes to get through the job, and you've made a bunch of mistakes. Then you've got to go back and change it. And changing video is like, forget it. It's just too hard. So you start again and you record it again, but it's too slow because the mouse movements and all this clicking and all that sort of stuff, as you have to open every different little box and type in them, it just takes too long. So what we do here is we say, okay, how can we take these assets that you've created here, that you've made your lovely SharePoint pages and Word documents and what have you, can we make that into an attractive video? And this is a separation of work effort for knowledge capture and formatting, because it's the formatting that takes the time. It's the fiddly stuff in Word that takes the time, in PowerPoint that takes the time, in SharePoint that takes the time. It's the fiddly, designy stuff that takes the time. So what we're trying to do is get the software to do all the fiddly, designy stuff. Not a technical term, I'm afraid, but I hope you know what I mean. There are 18 scenes when I pop this video box open. The first scene comes from a text frame. You can see here the text frame has 2 bits of text in it, this bit of text and this bit of text. If this was a Word document, you would see heading level 1, 0 processor credit today. There it is, heading level 1, 0 processor credit note today, and there's text underneath it. So it's taken the text and it's formatted it for the Word output by applying the style that's in the Word document. But when you go to PowerPoint or when you go to video, why don't we have a quick look at this? When you go to PowerPoint or video, the treatment is a little more rich. In this case, what we've got here is a bigger heading, but on a different background. So this, I'll just park that one for a second. We'll come into here and change it to title. When you publish to Word, it will make it different. You publish to PowerPoint, it will make it different. And you publish to video, it will also make it different. So it's different treatment, not just the font size, but it could be everything about this page can be different. So this is heading 1 and this is title page here. So it's that, you know, it's trying to say to the user, make a simple choice here. And then when we go to the outputs, it can have a major positive impact. So you don't have to worry about the formatting. So it's one work effort, but it's a really simple work effort with some pictures and you marking up the pictures. And then you get something that looks like this. So this is Contossi. It's a pretend brand. But what it allows you to do is just put your text in and the text will turn up here. It's white on orange and, you know, it looks nice. But if you change this thing here to heading, this will look different. H2, it'll look different. Okay, very quickly, there are 18 scenes. 18 scenes. What's a scene? This is a scene. Frame 1 is a scene. This is a scene. 1 with 2 rectangles is a scene. This is a scene as well. 2 and 3 and 2 rectangles is a scene. This one here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 scenes. So on one of these image frames, the grouping of items makes a scene. So the grouping of items makes a scene. So they appear together, the audio is together, the duration, it's just one picture. So that's what we're going to do now. So we'll make this now. We've got 6 frames, left-hand side, but 13, did we decide 13 scenes? 18 scenes, my apologies. So this scene has text, 0 process a credit note today. This is an example procedure created in Runthru. The text as written is this. but you have the opportunity to put in different text for the voice. What am I talking about? Well, if we want voice on here, what we've got to do is record the voice. So if there's no voice here, you are given the opportunity to record the voice yourself. So if you have a nice voice, you can read the text or read the text or make up any text you want, because it's just recording your voice. Otherwise, we can be assisted by Sonia, who is a British voice. And so in here, we could choose Sonia's voice or Ryan's voice or Abby's voice or lots and lots of other voices from different parts of the world. But today we're using Sonia. Every one of the steps can have a different voice. And Sonia is going to read for us, "Welcome to the example video. Thanks for watching." And she's going to read that for us. So let's have a go. The duration of that is 5 seconds. We're going to make the scene duration 5 seconds, and we're going to see how this sounds.
Welcome to the example video. Thanks for watching.
Okay, I hope that audio came through. Did that? Yes, getting thumbs up. So for each scene, you can record this audio. And so each scene now has an audio and a duration. Some of the scenes, it will zoom in and zoom out. And that's using this top box up here, but we're not going to stress on that too much. But now we're on 18. We'll just quickly flick back through them to make sure all the numbers look right. I think that all looks pretty good. Oh, this one here, allocate credit. Oh, remember we added this? We allocated credit balance window is now shown, and I had forgotten that one. So when you publish, it will actually warn you and say there is missing audio, but I think that was the only one that we added. So let's push the publish button now and see what happens. So there are 18 scenes to create. This will create 18 little videos, and those little videos will wait on your hard drive for you to push the publish button next time as well. That means if a scene doesn't need changing, then it'll just skip it because it's already got the audio there. So a change of text, a change of audio, a change of any of these sort of scene display zoom things or panning things, that will change the scene, and therefore it will have to regenerate the small audio which goes onto your hard drive and waits for this to come back and ask for it again. But there are 20 videos will make the final job. And that's because there's a starting little video clip and an ending little video clip just to make it a bit more professional. And you'll see this pop up in a minute, and you'll see what is called the pre-roll. And if we watch through to the end of this 2-minute video, as it will be, you'll see the post-roll. So it will glue all these pieces together to make a pretty professional video for us. And then what will happen is you'll listen to it and you go, oh, maybe that should be expressed a little bit differently, or maybe I'll change that. And you come back in here, make the change, push the publish button, and then it'll be even quicker next time if you've only made one change.
Welcome to the example video. Thanks for watching. Select Business Sales Overview. Press the drop-down icon on right side of the New button. Then choose Credit Note. Add the customer name into the To field. Choose the credit date. This cannot be prior to the current month. Do not change the credit note number that has been created for you. Leave the branding and reference options unchanged. Create a new line item for the credit note. Use the item code, DISC. Add a description for the discount. Make the quantity equal to 1. Add the unit price here. Note, this must be a positive number.
I'm going to just take it through to the end, just so you can see the post roll. There it is. So I don't know how well that comes through on screen sharing, but
Welcome to the
you might be able to make out in the beginning that sort of colorful transition for Contossi there. So that's That's the pre-roll. Then the other assets go in the middle and the post-roll goes at the end. It's just to decorate it and make it really an attractive piece. We make those for our customers, of course. I mean, but you could make your own if you wanted to as well, if you were good with Adobe Premiere or, well, any other sort of fancy video editing tool. But they just end up at the beginning and the end. I will show you something that was quite interesting, actually. This is more anecdotal than anything else, but this is it here. Add the customer name into the to field, and you can see I capitalize this, and that's as written. So that's the text that I typed originally onto the screen. Unfortunately, the Microsoft AI that does the text to speech reads that in a funny way. Let me show you.
Add the customer name into the TO field.
So it says TO field, which isn't right, and so I used it lowercase, and it didn't sound right either. I'll show you what I mean. Let's just copy it over here, and let me just correct that, and we'll delete and re-record.
Add the customer name into the to field.
And it says the to field, which isn't right. So I just had to experiment a little bit with it, and I made the to field, and then it seemed very happy. So that was what I went with in the end.
Add the customer name into the to field.
It was much better. I know it's a bit.
Add the customer name into the to field.
It's a bit hacky, really, but I'm rather glad we put in this alternate text. Otherwise, you'd have had to go back to the original text and try and make it work. In fact, in the early unreleased version of this application, we discovered this pretty quickly, that sometimes that text-to-speech needs a bit of a nudge in the right direction. So that's where alternate text came from, but it's proven to be really handy, because sometimes you get lots and lots of text on a frame. Like this introductory frame could have like lots of text on it, but you don't want to talk it all through with the voice, so you just go to alternate, record against alternate, and off you go. So yeah, this is a fantastic technology, and it just makes it really, really fast to make great quality procedural videos. That's really what it's about. So that's video. So there's a bunch of other formats as well. We've had a look at SharePoint. We've now looked at video. We've looked at Word, and I think we had a quick look at PowerPoint. But what we'll do is we want to talk about HTML a bit now. It's 1/2 the hour, so we're on time. We'll finish on time. Let's save this file. We're going to save this file, and we're going to save it to. We're going to save it to a different location. I'm sorry, bear with me just a moment while I find what I'm looking for. Nope. Yes, this one. Okay, this is what I want. Yep. All right, we're going to go back to here, and we're going to do File. We're going to do Save As, and we're going to put in the path and here, and we'll give it a catchy name. 0 example EMEA. 0 example EMEA. Okay, good. Don't need that anymore, I don't think. We can come back later if we need to. All right, what is product number 2 about? Let's go here. This is Contossi. All right, this is our pretend demonstration brand. In here, and you can see this as well, if you search for Contossi, you'll find it. In here, we have plenty of assets that are created in run-through instruction. Nice, simple, blow by blow, absolutely crystal clear what the user's got to do, including automatic grabs of images. We call them snipped images. This is a snipped image which was automatically carved out of here to make it absolutely clear to the user, this is what you're looking for, and here it is on the screenshot, so you can identify the screen. Lovely and simple, without the effort. We shall go back and to home. This is a little different. This is a much more complex example with branching in it, and this is created using Runthru performance. And so performance is a bit different. It still has some of the capability of run-through instruction, you know, step-by-step things here, but it really is all about complex decisions. And this is delivered in SharePoint or in HTML. So, you know, here's a question. What is the reason for doing this? Is it A or B or C or D or E or whatever? And then, oh, it's a lost or stolen check. What's the value? Is it A or B or C or whatever? And then under here, well, it's more than this, then perform this step. And well, here's another question. So it's like a flow chart, right? So it's like process. It's like process. It is process, but it's also got tons of detail in it as well. And so this is what performance is all about, is making, trying to make clear to the consumer of this knowledge how to do something without having to trace their finger around a flow chart and go off to a whole bunch of different references. That's really what this is all about. So I'm going to show you that now. Let's start up run through performance. And I'll show you again an existing file. Here it comes. Here it is. And it's this one. So again, I'm not going to start from scratch. So I'll just sort of point at things and explain how it works. And then we might publish it to SharePoint. We'll do a couple of small things in here so you get the idea. There are two primary sorts of elements. There are sections and there are text blocks. This is a section. This is a section, which is under this one. These are text blocks, right? These are rich text. You can put pictures in them and bold them and italicize them and all that sort of stuff and put bullet points and what have you inside of there. But the whole kind of thrust of the application is the procedural part. So it's a structured word processor given, and you can see the structure forming up on the left-hand side, but it really is about creating procedures. So on the procedure tab here, you can add steps or questions. So these are gateways in the flowchart with associated pieces, and these are rectangles in a flowchart. Inside of here, we've got a number of interesting things. Let's look at this question. Is the invoice greater than the amount? Yes, raise a purchase order for the difference. No, you can continue to the next step. And there's another step, another step, another step. And there's another question. Is the invoice valid? Yes, accept the invoice. Is the invoice above? So you've accepted it, but now is it above your sign-off level? Yes, it is. You'll need to get approval from the important manager in the big office in the corner. And to do that, you're going to go off to somewhere else in the document. So you put in these links that go to different parts of the document. So I'm going to make one of these for you, but I'm going to do it in a slightly different way. I'm going to preview this and explain what I'm up to. This is a preview, and this is exactly what it's going to look like in HTML inside of SharePoint, right? So you've got here some content that is quite rich. You have to enter the invoice into the purchase order system and you follow these steps. Now, this is a mythical example, but we'll pretend there are 3 screenshots and there's 10 steps. There's only 3 steps on one screenshot, but just pretend with me. But what's happened here is it's kind of a bit heavy. You know, really what you want with a procedural document is you want the headlines, and then you want to be able to drill down if you need to. So if you know how to enter the invoice into the PO system, you don't want to see all these steps in here. You want it out as an appendix and you want to link to it, not unlike this link here takes you from the yes mark off to somewhere else in the document or somewhere else entirely. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this, I'm going to make it into a like an appendix, and then what we'll do is we'll put a marker here that's go to, basically. So let's take this. We will cut it. We will cut this selected object. It's the selected object that we want. So we've cut it. And it's now on this rather clever internal keyboard that will stay there for the whole session, which means you can make a collection of these things. And then elsewhere in the document, what we're going to do is we're going to add a new procedural section. So we can do that here as well. So we're going to add another procedural section. And this is currently at 1.1, so we'll nudge it down to the bottom. It's 1.2. These are, this is the, I'll name it afterwards when I see the content appear again. So let's paste this content back in. We'll put the content back in here just by clicking on this button. This was the entering into the PO system. So we'll get rid of this. We don't need that. That's a blank one. And this is the enter into PO system details, instructions. What else? Instructions. All right. Okay, enter into the PO system instructions. It's a procedure. It's special. It's green. It matches this tab, which has got all the other controls in it. It's kind of simply color coded. But now we've left a bit of a space at the top here. Enter, capital E, enter the invoice into the PO system. What did I call it? Enter into the PO system. So instead of that whole bunch of text in here and pictures, we'll just add a go-to in this document. The document is down the bottom here, 1.2. We're just going to link to it, and then it's going to be refer to this link, not go to the link, just refer to the link. And so there we have it. And if we go back to preview, what you'll get is something like this. Enter the invoice into the PO system. If you don't know how to do it, the instructions are here. And you get this much more attractive result, make it easy for the user. And it allows you to keep the high level instructions here and the detail hidden. That's kind of how it works. So this does not make video or PowerPoint. It only makes SharePoint and Word files. It's mostly about SharePoint. Word is there. Word is there because some organizations just need for some sort of important kind of audit reasons to have stuff in Word. Good enough. This will make a reasonable Word file. Not as good as Runthru instruction, but it'll make a reasonable Word file. But it will make a really good SharePoint file. And so if we connect now to SharePoint, we'll go ahead, save the document, and we'll move on to the next one. We'll choose a site. We'll give it a catchy name like this. Oops. Oops, I've got too many semicolons. That isn't going to work. Like this, good enough. And here we give it a name, EMEA. Okay, then there's like a gazillion options. You can choose what you want to do in here. Is it a wiki page? And this is coming straight from your SharePoint. We'll leave it at site page. What do you want to do with the title area? And there's a bunch of other things in here as well, including the marker radius and the image size, and so on and so forth. And then this will give you different options based on what you chose earlier. In this case, there's only one, which is responsible individuals. And when you've done all that, you can make a SharePoint page, and then we get on with life. So let's have a look at what this one turns out like. All right, so immediately after we've looked at this, then hopefully it'll just auth again. Here it is. So this is what we just created. Click your fingers. Here it is in SharePoint, ready to roll. And here's that asset at the bottom that I showed you earlier. You've got control over which way around these things go and the size of them and whether you have an attractive purple bar and all that sort of stuff. But that's what performance does, is it makes these kind of like a linear flow chart with as much detail as you can possibly desire. It's really what that's about. Okay, we're going to save this file. Well, so we did save it before, didn't we? But we're going to save it into here. Okay, so this is AKT example EMEA, we'll call it. So this is the same place that the Runthru instruction file went. Think. Now I'm second guessing myself. Here it is, or not. No, I'm glad I checked. It's this one. It's this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Glad I checked. Glad I checked. EMEA. Yeah, I need it there. All right, I think we've happily done that. He says with enormous confidence. EMEA RTP doc and EMEA run-through file. Great. Okay. Product 3. And we have 15 minutes to go. This is Fusion. Coming any minute now. Fusion brings together content and makes a website. That's what it does. If your requirement is only internal, this may not be for you. But maybe it is if it's a project and you've got complete control over it and you can't get hold of SharePoint, right? Maybe I don't know. Mostly the customers use this for end user content out there in the world. Let me show you how this works. The Contossi site that you saw earlier, are we still here? Contossi guys. This site is made in Runthru Fusion. So all of the structures, the designs, the position of things, it's all made in Fusion, but the content was authored elsewhere. Same thing with our support site, the Runthru support site, and this one here, this one here. This is all made in Fusion. The whole site is made in Fusion. And the content inside of it, however, comes from other places. In this case, it could be, if I go into instruction, the basics, gathering screens quickly. This one here is made in Runthru instruction, for example, but there are some other assets in here that might be made in Word, and there are other assets in here that might be made in Performance, and I'm going to show you each of those things. We're going to use this file here. This is the Contossi Guide site. These are the two files that we just made. They're on OneDrive, actually. They're on my hard drive as well, but they're OneDrive. So these have come in from somewhere. It was us today, but it could have come from somewhere else. In the middle, you have a site structure. And on the right-hand side, you have a preview and a properties panel. Let's just build it, and we'll see what this looks like. This is the Contossi site, and this is Salesforce, this is Salesforce, this is other, this is other. And in Salesforce, we've got how to enable security keys, how to register security keys, for example. So this is the site structure. These are the assets. There are no assets in of themselves here. This is the site structure. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in a new section here, and we're going to call it EMEA, and it's going to go at the top of the list, but we can nudge it down to the bottom of the list. So if I was to generate now, you would see a third one of these things here underneath other, but we need some content in it. So what are we going to do about that? Well, we need a number of different assets. We've got a run-through performance document. We've got a run-through instruction document. And for double points, perhaps, and again, bear with me here, maybe what's happened is someone has quickly whipped up a Word document, my Word document, and you want to get that document into this site as well. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to edit it now. We're into this My Word document. Here it is. My Great Document is going to have heading 1, and it sort of looks blue. This is the document that does something important, like so, and in it, it needs something important, and there's nothing more important than a table. So we'll put a quick table in there, make it slightly more professional, and we'll put some cool content into it. This table format obviously has a column on the left, which makes it bold, so we'll unbold that. I admit it's not that interesting, but just bear with me. And we might also have a little picture as well. I think this morning we used puppies. This time we're going to use kittens. In the real world, of course, this might be a picture of an important document, but we're going to have a picture of a small cat. So I'll grab that and we'll paste it into here. And that, I think, absolutely fantastic. It's saving it. We'll watch it save. It was last saved just now. It still seems to be saving. Perhaps we'll just pop it out of the way for a minute if it's going to take a moment to save. It seems happy. We did have a strange issue this morning with synchronization using OneDrive. You can still, that still thinks it's 0 bytes. So let's just leave it there for a minute. The other thing I'm going to create for you is a text file. This text file is my text file, and I'm going to do Markdown in here. Markdown is just geekily so cool. I don't have to worry about styling, but I do have to know that a single hash makes my big heading. And I also need to know that if I want to have simple text, I just type the text. And I also need to know that if I put one of these dashes, then I'll get bullet points. And it might also surprise you to know that if you do 1 and 1 and 1, then you'll get a numbered list. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff you can do, but what we're going to do is just save this at this point. Now, I did this in Notepad intentionally. I've left it as a text file intentionally. But what we will do is we're going to turn this into a Markdown file. So I've written it as a Markdown file, but to turn it into a Markdown file, that is not terribly difficult. You just make it .md. Windows will warn you, but that's all right. We want it just like that. Let's check on our Word document. It does say it's saved. We'll close that now. We've now got a Word document, a Markdown file, and a couple of other assets. That's can close and in here and refresh, and this should show us the 4 assets on our disk. There they are. So where are they going to go? They're going to go into EMEA. We're going to have a Markdown file, we're going to have a Word file, and a couple of other interesting assets. So I'm just going to click on them and just cheat a bit by just pushing on this. This is going to create a new page in this section. There's a manual way of doing this. This is just a little bit easier. Create a new page in EMEA. This one here, the Word document, even just the Word document is going to have its own page. And I haven't exported anything for the Word document. I've just dropped it in here. And this one is the Runthru file. Raw Runthru file, raw Word document, Markdown file, and this one here called EMEA, which is a Runthru performance document. So that's kind of it. Straight off here, make the pages, and let's have a look at what we got. So if all goes to plan, you should see 4 pages under this section. This is EMEA. Let's have a look at this one. This is your Runthru performance document. Drop the file in, and we automatically convert it into this asset when you push the build button, just like that. This one here is my text file. So this is the Markdown file. And I just typed in dash and got these things here. You know, it's really very, very simple. Let's go and have a look at the next one. EMEA, my Word document, complete with a cat and complete with a table directly out of Microsoft Word because we wrote a converter for it. I'm not going to tell you this will do everything perfectly. This is relatively new, but as you guys come up with challenges, we work it out and we put it into the tech so the conversion gets better and better. And this final one here is the Runthru instruction one, complete with all the pictures and blow-by-blow instructions, perfectly clear for the user. I think this is absolutely fine to have 9 steps on it. You might disagree and do it differently, but I think it looks really good. But the technology, I think, stands on its own 2 feet. I mean, I know we started with kind of semi-completed files, but we've made videos and we've now made a really cool help site and all sorts of things. Let's come back and have a look at the properties here. I want to show you a couple of other quick things inside of Fusion. By the way, what we've made is a group of files on the hard drive, which is a website. You have to then take it and put it on the internet. We have some automated ways of doing that, and your own organization would have those as well. But it is a standalone, static, self-contained website. It doesn't need any other tech really apart from a web server. So if you have a need for this, please talk to us because it's very, very cool. We have customers that use this for embedded help systems in their software. And so you would have internal systems potentially that could leverage this as an internal help system. All right, this is the Markdown file. I only want to show you 2 other things in here. Let's go in and have a quick look at it. So Markdown files, look, I think it's really cool. All the cool kids out there in help authoring land use this. Microsoft would use this, Oracle would use this, IBM would use this. They use Markdown. And at their end, it looks exactly like this. Yeah, it just looks exactly like this. But there's other cool things you can do with Markdown. You can make tables, for example. And I happen to be geeky enough to know how to do it by hand. Use these little pipes and use these little dashes and things. But rather than doing that, what I'll do is I'll switch over to Copilot inside of Fusion, which is basically reaching out to Microsoft again and asking for help. Please make me a Markdown table with 3 columns and 5 rows. I'm not sure this will work because I've never done it before. I certainly have asked it for a Markdown table, but let's see what we get. Yes, that worked perfectly. So I'm going to copy that. We'll just copy that and I'm going to paste it into here. We'll go back to preview and we'll put our table in here. Hopefully print. I don't want to print. I want to copy my thing out of here. Copy and paste. There it goes. So if I go back to preview now, you'll see the table. There it is. So that's how you make tables in Markdown. You just use these little pipes and this row here. If you put in this row here with little dashes in it, it'll make it, the line above, it'll make it a heading, for example. This is very, very cool tech. There's tons of other things you can do as well in here. But we extend it a little bit in a couple of interesting ways. Let's just grab something off the other screen. 3 minutes to go. We can, I can't think of a term for it, but let's just say we can adorn using stuff like this. So this is a line that's sitting in the template behind here that says, if you call it run-through block info, put it on a blue background, put a little symbol in it, and put the heading info in there. If this was warning, then do it a bit differently. And so you have absolute control over what this is going to look like. As many characteristics as you want to, and positioning and colors and fonts and all that, and icons and all that sort of stuff. We can help you make it all automatic. So you decorate it using this sort of styling here, which is, yeah, I admit it's a bit geeky, but it makes it so fast to just build content once you know how to do it. And you don't have to worry about numbering systems and formatting, because the formatting is automatic. It's just done for you. You know, that's really what we're trying to do. And there's a series of other kind of cool things in here as well, such as variables. So you might have product name, and you might have this all over the place. This is for the product called product name, and that would be here. But there is no variable called product name at the moment. We'll save this file and we'll come back up here. If all goes to plan, we want to get back out of here to here. And at the top, we're going to set up a variable. The variable is going to be called product name. And you can spray these throughout your Word documents. This is going to be called the new fashioned kitten product. I don't know why, ladies and gentlemen, but that's what it's called. It's the new fashion kitten product. So anywhere that you see that curly bracket product name thing put, you're going to be able to see it. Now, where did I put it? I put it inside of here. So I put this one inside of a Markdown file, but you can do the same in Word, the same in Runthru Performance, and the same in Runthru Instruction. You can use those curly brackets anywhere, and it will substitute these at the point of publishing or editing. There's lots and lots and lots going on here. But the whole goal being, get the content in a format that is easy to create, then build a structure, glue it in, push the publish button, and away you go. So that's really what I wanted to show you today, bringing together all of these different pieces of software, and you've seen 3, and they went into SharePoint beautifully, and they created lovely Word documents, and in the case of Runthru Instruction video as well. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for your attention. I really do appreciate you coming along this morning. and spending some time with me. My name is Nigel Wilson. I'm the founder and CEO of Runthru Software, an Australian-based organisation. And we're delighted to be able to help you today. So thank you for those of you who are customers already. And if you wish to become a customer, please let us know. We would love to bring you on board. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye for now.